现在，请博鳌亚洲论坛秘书长李保东先生主持开幕式。Now let's welcome Mr. Li Baodong, Secretary General of the Boao Forum for Asia, to moderate the opening plenary.
尊敬的中华人民共和国国务院副总理韩正阁下，尊敬的博鳌亚洲论坛理事长潘基文阁下，副理事长周小川阁下，各位论坛理事和资委委员，尊敬的各位部长、驻华使节和国际组织代表，各位来宾、女士们、先生们，首先，我荣幸地宣布，博鳌亚洲论坛2022年会正式开幕。在今天开幕式上致辞的各国领导人和国际组织负责人有中华人民共和国主席习近平阁下，国务院副总理韩正阁下，以色列国总统赫尔佐格阁下，蒙古国总统呼日勒苏赫阁下，尼泊尔总统班达里阁下，菲律宾共和国总统杜特尔特阁下，哈萨克斯坦共和国政府总理斯麦洛夫阁下，老挝人民共和国政府总理潘坎阁下，
of the Lao PDR
国际货币基金组织总干事
Director Kristina Georgieva of the IMF.
开幕式发言的还有论坛伙伴、工商界代表。
Partners of the forum and the business representatives will also deliver their remarks. On behalf of the forum, I extend my sincere appreciation to all the leaders and the business representatives. The pandemic is still raging. World economic recovery is facing setbacks. New crisis is emerging, and peace and development are facing new challenges. It is therefore by no means an easy task to have the 2022 annual conference held as scheduled. On behalf of the forum, I wish to thank the government of our host country.
We
hope that at this annual conference, delegates from around the world will contribute wisdom and strength to the maintenance of peace, stability, and development in Asia, to the joint global response to COVID-19 and great changes, and to a robust, green, and sound global development, and the building of a community with a shared future for mankind. Now, I invite the chairman of the forum, His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, to deliver a video address.
请各位贵宾戴上红传耳机。
Distinguished guests, you are reminded to put on your headsets for simultaneous interpretation.
Your Excellency, President Xi Jinping, People's Republic of China, Your Excellency, Vice Premier of Hanzheng, Excellencies, distinguished heads of state and government, dear colleagues of the World Forum, board and council, ambassadors, heads of international organizations, fellow delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the annual conference 2022 of the Boao Forum for Asia. This is an annual occasion for government, business, and opinion leaders to meet, brainstorm, and act on the most pressing issues of the day. Each year, the theme and topics vary with the changing landscape in world economy and international affairs. Each year, we must face and rise up to emerging challenges here and there. Each spring, here in Boao, we have a new agenda to pursue together and closer. Last year, when we met, much of the talk was on the COVID-19. This year, the virus is still here with us. Though much of the world has managed to reopen economy and social life, at least partially, the virus and its variants continue to plague many countries, take lives, disrupt supply, and dampen confidence. A bulk of countries and communities are yet to be vaccinated. The vaccine divide stands out as another major fault line between the privileged and underprivileged. There is no real getting back to normal unless we can have 70% of the world vaccinated. It is an arduous task that calls for more peaceful and more forceful international coordination and assistance. Complicating the scene is the escalation of geopolitical tension. Last year, the world economy narrowly escaped a Great Depression and rebounded fast and strongly. This year, however, the momentum risks being set back by economic and financial consequences of regional conflicts. Energy and food prices have been pushed up to record highs almost overnight. Wider spillover effects on energy security, food security, global supply chain, free trade, and economic globalization have yet to be seen. Inflation, already high before the Ukraine crisis, has renewed concerns of a stagflation similar to the one we experienced back in the 1970s. What concerns me further is the possible dilution and diversion of global efforts to combat climate change, poverty, and other goals of sustainable development. We are nearly halfway through the 15-year window of time in the 2030 agenda, but nowhere near halfway through in our progress. We managed to agree on the Glasgow Climate Pact last November. That must be followed up with concrete plans and actions back home. Our hands are full with the virus and regional conflicts, but time is ticking on many other fronts. Global challenges must be addressed by the world as a collective whole. We cannot afford to see our world fall apart and our global economy fall back into fragmentation along national, regional, and ideological lines. As someone long involved in international affairs, I am a firm believer in the power and wisdom of the international system, with the United Nations at the core and the UN Charter as the guiding principles. Not because it is perfect, but because it works and serves well in safeguarding peace and stability. Multilateralism will continue to work and serve our common dream of peace and development. There is no other alternative in this highly interconnected and interdependent world. I call upon you, my fellow colleagues, to stand up and speak out at this critical moment, to bridge the great divides, not letting the world fall apart, to pursue a common agenda for our shared future, not letting politics, bias, and ideology stand in the way, to work together, not in isolation or against one another. Our shared future must be one of shared peace and shared prosperity that includes all countries and peoples. No one should be left behind and left out. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let us work together to make this world better and more peaceful and sustainable. I count on your leadership. Thank you. 谢谢。
感谢潘基文理事长阁下的致辞。
I thank Chairman Ban Ki-moon for his remarks. Now I'm honored to invite Vice Premier Han Zheng for a short remark. Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, Your Excellencies, heads of international organizations, Your Excellency Chairman Ban Ki-moon and members of the Board of Directors, friends, good morning. On behalf of the Chinese government, I'd like to extend warm congratulations to the convening of the Boao Forum for Asia Annual Conference 2022 and a hearty welcome to all distinguished guests. I'm also honored to be a part of this year's annual conference. Chinese President Xi Jinping will attend the conference and give a keynote speech through video. It demonstrates the high importance the Chinese government places on the development of the forum. Now, with a round of applause, let's welcome President Xi Jinping for a keynote speech. Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, Your Excellencies, heads of international organizations, Your Excellencies, members of the Board of Directors of the Boao Forum for Asia, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. It gives me great pleasure to once again join friends old and new online for the Boao Forum for Asia Annual Conference 2022. I want to begin by extending on behalf of the Chinese government and people, and also in my own name, hearty welcome to all participating guests and warm congratulations on the convening of the annual conference. Right now, changes of the world, of our times, and of history are unfolding in ways like never before. These changes are posing challenges that must be taken seriously by humanity. We have yet to walk from the shadow of a once-in-a-century pandemic, but new traditional security risks are already emerging. The weak and faltering global economic recovery is compounded by a widening development gap. While governance deficits in areas like climate change has hardly been addressed, new issues such as digital governance are also vying for attention. Viewed in such a context, the theme of this year's annual conference, The World in COVID-19 and Beyond, Working Together for Global Development and Shared Future, cannot be more relevant. As an ancient Chinese adage goes, one must not change his commitment or give up his pursuit even in the face of danger and risk. A review of human history teaches us that the more difficult things get, the greater the need grows to stay confident. Problems are not to be afraid of, as it is one problem after another that have driven the progress of human society. No difficulties could ever stop the wheel of history. Faced with the many challenges, we must not lose confidence, hesitate, or flinch. Instead, we must firm up confidence and press ahead against all odds. Ladies and gentlemen and friends, for us to break through the mist and embrace a bright future, the biggest strength comes from cooperation, and the most effective way is through solidarity. Over the past 2 years and more, the international community has been working extremely hard to respond to the COVID-19 challenge and boost global recovery and development. The hardships and challenges are yet another reminder that humanity is a community with a shared future where all people rise and fall together, and that all countries need to follow the trend of the times featuring peace, development, and win-win cooperation, move in the direction of building a community with a shared future for mankind, and rise to challenges and build a bright future through cooperation. We need to work together to defend people's lives and health. Safety and health are the prerequisite for human development and progress. For humanity to clinch a final victory against the COVID-19 pandemic, more hard efforts are needed. It is essential that countries support each other, better coordinate response measures, and improve global public health governance so as to form strong international synergy against the pandemic. We must keep COVID vaccines a global public good and ensure their accessibility and affordability in developing countries. China has provided over 2.1 billion doses of vaccines to more than 120 countries and international organizations, be it in delivering vaccines abroad or producing them overseas. China has honored its commitments with concrete actions. China will follow through the pledged donation of 600 million and 150 million doses of vaccines to Africa and ASEAN countries, respectively, as part of our effort to close the immunization gap. We need to work together to promote economic recovery. The COVID-19 pandemic has seriously eroded the gains the world has made in poverty reduction over the past decade. Uneven recovery is aggravating inequality across the world, further widening the North-South divide. We should stay committed to building an open world economy, stay on top of the dominant trend of economic globalization, increase macro policy coordination, turn to science and technology for more growth drivers, keep global industrial and supply chains stable, and prevent serious negative spillovers from policy adjustments in some countries, all in an effort to promote balanced, coordinated, and inclusive global development. We should follow a people-centered approach, place development and people's well-being high on the agenda, and when policies are implemented, measures adopted, and actions taken, always give top priority to bettering people's lives. We should pay due attention to the pressing needs of developing countries and advance practical cooperation in such key areas as poverty reduction, food security, development financing, and industrialization, in a bid to address uneven and inadequate development. The Global Development Initiative I proposed last year has been echoed and supported by the United Nations and other international organizations and nearly 100 countries. China is working with the international community on the solid implementation of the GDI. We need to work together to maintain peace and stability in the world. An ancient Chinese philosopher observed, stability brings a country prosperity, while instability leads a country to poverty. Security is the precondition for development. We humanity are living in an indivisible security community. It has been proven time and again that Cold War mentality would only wreck the global peace framework, that hegemonism and power politics would only endanger world peace, and that bloc confrontation would only exacerbate the security challenges in the 21st century. To promote security for all in the world, China would like to propose a global security initiative as follows. It's important that we stay committed to the vision of common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security and work together to maintain world peace and security. Stay committed to respecting the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all countries, uphold non-interference in internal affairs, and respect independent choices of development paths and social systems made by people in different countries, stay committed to abiding by the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, reject Cold War mentality, oppose unilateralism, and say no to group politics and bloc confrontation. Stay committed to taking the legitimate security concerns of all countries seriously, uphold the principle of indivisible security, build a balanced, effective, and sustainable security architecture, and oppose the pursuit of one's own security at the cost of others' security. Stay committed to peacefully resolving differences and disputes between countries through dialogue and consultation. Support all efforts conducive to the peaceful settlement of crises, reject double standards, and oppose the wanton use of unilateral sanctions and long-arm jurisdiction. Stay committed to maintaining security in both traditional and non-traditional domains, and work together on regional disputes and global challenges such as terrorism, climate change, cybersecurity, and biosecurity. We need to work together to tackle global governance challenges. Countries around the world are like passengers aboard the same ship who share the same destiny. For the ship to navigate the storm and sail toward a bright future, all passengers must hold together. The thought of throwing anyone overboard is simply not acceptable. In this day and age, the international community has evolved so much that it has become a sophisticated and integrated apparatus. Acts to remove any single part will cause serious problems to its operation. When that happens, both the victims and initiators of such acts will stand to lose. In today's world, unilateralism and excessive pursuit of self-interest are doomed to fail. So are the practices of decoupling, supply disruption, and maximum pressure. So are the attempts to forge small circles or to stoke conflict and confrontation along ideological lines. Instead, we need to embrace a global governance philosophy that emphasizes extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits, promote the common values of humanity, and advocate exchanges and mutual learning between civilizations. We need to uphold true multilateralism and firmly safeguard the international system with the UN at its core and the international order underpinned by international law. It is particularly important for major countries to lead by example in honoring equality, cooperation, good faith, and the rule of law, and act in a way befitting their status. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, having been through hot and cold wars, hardships and tribulations, people in Asia deeply cherish the value of peace and understand that development gains do not come easily. Over the past decades, Asia has enjoyed overall stability and sustained rapid growth, making possible the Asian miracle. When Asia fares well, the whole world benefits. Therefore, we need to continue developing and strengthening Asia, demonstrate Asia's resilience, wisdom, and strength, and make Asia an anchor for world peace, a powerhouse for global growth, and a new pace setter for international cooperation. First, we should resolutely safeguard peace in Asia. Peace and stability in our region does not fall into our lap automatically or come as charity from any country. Rather, it is the result of joint efforts of countries in the region. The 5 principles of peaceful coexistence and the Bandung spirit, first advocated by Asia, are all the more relevant today. We should honor such principles as mutual respect, equality, mutual benefit, and peaceful coexistence, follow a policy of good neighborliness and friendship, and make sure that we always keep our future in our own hands. Second, We should vigorously advance Asian cooperation. Many Asian proverbs describe the value of solidarity and cooperation, such as climb the hill together and go down the ravine together, and sugarcane and lemongrass grow in dense clumps. Win-win cooperation is a sure path to Asian development. The entry into force of the RCEP and the opening to traffic of the China-Laos Railway have effectively boosted institutional and physical connectivity in our region. We should seize these opportunities to foster a more open Asia-wide market and make new strides in mutually beneficial cooperation. Third, we should jointly promote Asian unity. Choosing dialogue and cooperation over zero-sum games, openness and inclusiveness over a closed-door and exclusive approach, and exchanges and mutual learning over a sense of superiority. This is the only choice worthy of the broad-mindedness of Asians. We should cement ASEAN's centrality in the regional architecture and uphold a regional order that balances the aspirations and accommodates the interests of all parties. Countries, no matter their size and strength, and both in and outside the region, should all add splendor rather than trouble to Asia. All should follow the path of peace and development, seek win-win cooperation, and contribute to an Asian family of unity and progress together. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, 2 months ago, China presented to the world a streamlined, safe, and splendid Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games, bringing warmth and hope to people across the globe. In the second half of this year, we will convene the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China, which will draw the blueprint for China's future development. The fundamentals of the Chinese economy, its strong resilience, enormous potential, vast room for maneuver, and long-term sustainability remain unchanged. They will provide great dynamism for the stability and recovery of the world economy and broader market opportunities for all countries. China will fully apply its new development philosophy, accelerate the establishment of a new development paradigm, and redouble efforts for high-quality development. No matter how the world will change, China's faith in and its commitment to reform and opening up will not waver. China will expand high-standard opening up, fully implement the negative list for foreign investment, expand the encouraged catalog for FDI, improve services for investment promotion, and add more cities to the comprehensive pilot program for service sector opening. China will take solid steps to develop its pilot free trade zones and the Hainan Free Trade Port, align with high-standard international economic and trade rules, and move ahead with institutional opening up. China will implement the RCEP in full, seek the conclusion of high-standard FTAs with more countries and regions, and actively work for joining the comprehensive and progressive agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership and the Digital Economy Partnership Agreement. China will press ahead with high-quality Belt and Road cooperation to make it high-standard, sustainable, and people-centered. China will unswervingly follow the path of peaceful development and always be a builder of world peace, a contributor to global development, and a defender of the international order. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, let me conclude with an old Chinese saying: keep walking, and one will not be daunted by 1,000 miles. Make constant efforts, and one will not be intimidated by 1,000 tasks. As long as we join hands and never slacken in efforts, we will build great synergy through win-win cooperation, overcome the various challenges along the way, and usher in a brighter and better future for humanity. Thank you.
下面，请以色列国总统赫尔佐格阁下发表视频致辞。
Next, we have an address from President of Israel.
It is a pleasure to address this annual conference of the Boao Forum for Asia, which has long become a high-level platform for the exchange of ideas promoting peace, stability, and shared prosperity throughout Asia and indeed the world. I'm so pleased in particular to be joining you from Jerusalem, the capital of the State of Israel, just a few months after I had the honor of speaking with President Xi Jinping, the host of this distinguished forum, to whom I wish to extend regards and salutations on the behalf of the people of Israel. In many respects, I view my participation here at Boao as a continuation of our previous conversation in which we discussed furthering and enhancing the bilateral relationship between China and Israel. In early 1993, my late father, President Chaim Herzog, made a historic visit to China, and today, as our two nations celebrate 30 years of diplomatic relations, I'm encouraged by the considerable growth of our partnership in fields as diverse as they are important. We are currently in the advanced stages of negotiating a free trade agreement which will further reduce tariffs and remove barriers for trade between our two nations. Dear ladies and gentlemen, Israel is committed to strengthening our relationship in Asia with all forum members gathered here today through the enhancement of economic, technological, and academic and scientific partnerships. Israel has a great deal to contribute in technology, know-how, in needed areas such as water, solar energy, agriculture, science, health, transportation, and so forth and so on, so much more. Your attendance in this annual conference demonstrates your commitment to pursuing peaceful avenues for international cooperation in order to address our many shared challenges. This is critical because there has been no shortage of challenges for all of us these very past 2 years. As we have all come to recognize, COVID-19 will likely accompany us for the foreseeable future. And similar other pandemics and viruses may come around as well. So our shared environment and warming climate neither recognize nor respect political boundaries. We are all experiencing, to some extent, the ramifications of the war in Ukraine, this terrible tragedy, the supply chain crisis, the rise of food and energy prices, and above all, the humanitarian catastrophe impacting millions of innocent lives. The importance of our continued cooperation for the well-being of humanity to address these challenges is therefore paramount. Only a combined effort together will enable us to effectively tackle issues of global reach and consequences. Efforts such as the COP27 in Egypt later this year will serve as a visible milestone compelling us to act responsibly, decrease emissions, and safeguard our planet. The Sustainable Development Goals, established and accepted by all United Nations members, is another important example of a concerted effort which will benefit our global community. On our part, here in Israel, we are all in. The freshly signed Abraham Accords are ushering in the dawn of a new Middle East. These warm agreements, already creating marvelous opportunities for regional collaborations, represent the promise of peace, commerce, friendship, and of course, outreach for the entire universe. I invite you all, therefore, distinguished members of Boao Forum for Asia, to learn how your economies can benefit from these newfound ties as well. Dear friends, we share so many challenges. Let us therefore work together to create solutions. I wish you all good health, continued success, and prosperity in the coming year. And let's hope we will make a positive change. Thank you. Shalom from Jerusalem.
感谢赫尔佐格总统。下面请蒙古国总统呼日勒苏赫阁下发表视频致辞。
Бүгдэн дотор улсын дарга эрхэмсэг ноён СЧП-ийн Азийн дэх Баогийн чуулга улсуудын дарга Бангын ноён төлөөлөгчдийн тэргүүнээр хатагтай ноёдоо Азийн төлөөх Баогийн чуулга улсад оролцож буй нийт зочин төлөөлөгчид та бүхэнд Монгол улсын нэрийн өмнөөс болон хувьяасаа чин сэтгэлийн халуун мэндийг хүргэн дэвшүүлье. COVID-19 сар дахлын үеийн болон түүний дараах дэлхийн хамтын ирээдүй, дэлхийн хөгжлийн төлөө хамтдаа зүтгэсэн сэдвээр зохион байгуулж буй чуулга улсын нэрийд оролцож байгаадаа баяртай байна. Монгол улсын тус чуулга улсыг үүсгэн байгуулагч улс орнуудын нэг билээ. Тиймээс Азийн эдийн засгийн тогтвортой өсөлтийн төлөөх улс орнуудын хамтын ажиллагааг уялдаа холбоог сайжруулах Баогийн чуулга улсыг оруулж ирсэн хувь нэмрийг өндөрөөр нэмэгдэнэ. Энэ дашнд манай мөнхийн хөрш бүгдэн хятад улс
Taking this opportunity, I would like to commend our eternal neighbor, the People's Republic of China, for successfully hosting the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics and for its important contribution to deepening the humanity's awareness of the Olympic spirit of mutual understanding, friendship, solidarity, and fair play. I wish to congratulate Beijing for becoming the first city in the world to host both Olympics. Distinguished participants, despite the challenging times of COVID-19, Asian countries have managed to continue their active interactions through organizing major events such as high-level and summit meetings and intergovernmental commission meetings virtually. It should be emphasized that effective cooperation in the prevention and control of the spread of the pandemic and continued development of trade and economic cooperation serve as a vivid example of how countries can support each other and work together to overcome pressing difficulties and challenges. I'm pleased to note that Mongolia was among the first few countries to open its borders to international travel in February 2022 with a view to promoting foreign trade and international travel and resuming tourism. Mongolia welcomes China's Global Development Initiative and Belt and Road Initiative as an important contribution to promoting equal, balanced, and sustainable development of the world and implementing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Mongolia looks forward to dynamically cooperating with fellow countries in the region, especially in projects and programs designed to build the regional infrastructure, promote green growth, and improve environmental degradation. In order to ensure its economic recovery, Mongolia has identified mining, manufacturing, food, agriculture, energy, tourism, small and medium businesses, transportation and logistics, creative industries, and information technology as priority sectors based on its long-term development policy Vision 2050 adopted in 2020. Mongolia has also launched a national campaign to plant 1 billion trees by 2030 with a view to increasing greenhouse gas observation, combating desertification and reducing poverty as its humble contribution to addressing global climate change. We in Mongolia have a saying which goes like, the source of life is water, the source of water is tree. Realization of a billion tree campaigns, a manifestation of deeply rooted culture and tradition of the Mongols to care for nature, could greatly reduce dust storms and cause environmental, health, and economic harms affecting not only Mongolia but also other countries in Asia. Our initiative to plant a billion tree has been warmly welcomed by our neighbors, China and Russia, as well as by a number of other countries. I'm pleased to highlight that heads of state of Mongolia and China agreed to strengthen our cooperation in the area of ecological and environmental protection, combating climate change, and ensuring the harmony between man and nature. Mongolia stands ready to cooperate actively with other Asian countries in promoting green growth. China is our important trade and investment partner. The trade between our two countries has accounted for more than 60% of the total foreign trade. China is also one of our leading investors. Aside from the challenging times of the pandemic, the trade turnover between China and Mongolia has been growing steadily, and we will continue to enhance logistics, transportation, and port capacity through joint efforts. There's a great potential to be tapped. We appreciate China's commitment to sharing its development benefits with its neighbors and pursuing a common development policy. Mongolia will continue to actively implement the Mongolia-Russia-China economic corridor for the benefit of the region. According to the Asian Development Bank's study, by 2030, 85% of the world's middle-class population will be in Asia. Therefore, Mongolia stands ready to cooperate with our partners to increase its transit capacity by promoting infrastructure connectivity and economic integration in the region, and contributing to the development of economic corridors connecting Asia to Europe and the rest of the world. Taking advantage of its geographical location connecting Asia and Europe, Mongolia is endeavoring to become a transit Mongolia, a hub for transport, trade, and services. Distinguished guests, it is imperative for us to follow closely the changing situation and improve the relations and cooperation between countries. Over the past 20 years, the Boao Forum for Asia has become an important platform for regional development dialogue. We welcome the forum's goal to promote regional cooperation and development in the areas of technology and innovation, health, education, culture, and information technology. Over the past 20 years, it has contributed many opportunities for the growth of the region. I wish all participants every success, and I believe the forum will continue to make tangible contribution to the cooperation and development in the region and for peace and development in Asia. I wish the annual conference a full success. Thank you.
I wish to thank the President of Mongolia. Next, we have an address from President Bandari of Nepal. Your Excellency Chairman Ban Ki-moon, Your Excellency Secretary General Li Baodong, distinguished guests, friends, good morning. I'm very glad that this year's Boao Forum for Asia Annual Conference has chosen the world in COVID-19 and beyond, working together for global development and shared future as its theme. On behalf of the Nepalese people, I wish to thank the host for inviting me to speak at this important event.
नेपाली जनताको तर्फबाट म धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु। बोआओ फोरमले एसिया क्षेत्रका
Over the years, the Boao Forum for Asia has been committed to promoting cooperation between Asian countries and facilitating discussions among senior leaders, the private sector, and academia on economic, social, and environmental issues. As a founding member of the Boao Forum for Asia, Nepal highly commends the work that the forum has done. The forum is held in the beautiful Chinese town of Boao. At the forum, our friendly neighbor, China, shares its experience and wisdom in boosting economic development through poverty alleviation. As the host of the forum, China has not only achieved enduring political and social stability, but also rapid development and notable rise in people's livelihood. I'm also glad to see that under the visionary and strong leadership of President Xi Jinping, China is speeding up development on all fronts, including promoting social justice and sending a message of lasting peace, stability, and common prosperity to the world.
विश्वले पछिल्ला 2 वर्षमा
Over the past 2 years, the raging COVID-19 pandemic has taken a heavy toll on least developed countries in particular, resulting in huge casualties and economic loss.
विकसित मुलुकहरू प्रभावित हुन पुगेका छन् गरिबी निवारण गरी दिगो
Over many years, these countries have made notable gains in sustainable development through poverty reduction. But they were put on halt as a result of the pandemic. Against such a special backdrop, it is highly relevant that this year's annual conference focuses discussions on how countries can contain the pandemic and revive the economy. I believe that this annual conference will send a message that COVID-19 has brought new changes to all countries in the world and has drawn people's attention to high-quality health, education, and health infrastructure development. Here, taking this opportunity, on behalf of Nepal and the Nepalese people, I wish to thank the World Health Organization and its members for providing assistance and support to my country through both bilateral channels and COVAX. Also, I wish to express sincere appreciation to our friendly partners, especially China, for the COVID vaccines and medical equipment provided to us. Such assistance has gone a long way in facilitating economic activities in Nepal and protecting the Nepalese people from the scourge of COVID-19. Here, I wish to particularly call upon the international community to introduce major strategic plans to provide a package of plans for developing countries, including Nepal, to restore economic growth. In this day and age, only by working together in solidarity and supporting each other can countries properly handle global challenges and solve global problems. I hope this annual conference will promote the idea of the entire region and the entire world, which encompasses all nations in the world, and contribute to a bright common future for mankind. When we discuss how to build a safer world beyond the pandemic, we must not forget the climate change crisis. Mountainous countries such as Nepal and island states have all along been affected by climate change. And the COVID-19 pandemic made matters even worse. Every country must earnestly fulfill its emissions reductions commitments and curb the trend of global warming. Before I conclude, I wish to assure you that Nepal will play an active role in our common cause, that is building a beautiful world beyond the pandemic. I wish this cause a great success. Thank you.
感谢班达里总统。
I wish to
下面
thank
请菲律
President
宾共和
Bandari.
国总
Next,
统
an
杜特尔
address
特阁
from
下发表
President
视频
Rodrigo
致辞。
Duterte of the Philippines.
His Excellency President Xi Jinping and Madam Ping Yuan, Excellencies Secretary General Li Baodong, a new phase in COVID-19 pandemic is upon us as we restart our economies and societies. The task we face is to define our post-COVID-19 future and seek to build back a better normal. In the Philippines, we have reopened our international and domestic borders for the safe resumption of travel. We also have made our health and safety protocols flexible and implemented several vaccination certificate mutual recognition arrangements. In the regional front, we must work together to make travel safe, seamless, and inclusive. Equally important is to engage the next generation as we strengthen our capacity in science, technology, and innovation. That is why we are also prioritizing the return of full face-to-face classes. Our fiscal response to the pandemic has helped us stave off inflation. Our tax reforms have allowed us to fund healthcare costs without imposing additional tax burden to our people. We all cannot recover alone. To rebuild our economies, we must strengthen global cooperation. We must maintain our collective commitment to facilitating access to vaccines and life-saving medicines, as well as sharing the best practices of pandemic response. Our supply chain must be robust and resilient. Digital transformation policies and infrastructure investment must target inclusive development. We must provide massive support to vulnerable groups as well as micro, small, and medium enterprises, as no one must be left behind. A shared future necessitates actions that are responsible and sustainable. Our goals must be in line with our international and multilateral commitments, such as net zero and nationally determined contributions. We must likewise intensify collaboration in the realization of nuclear and other clean energy sources, and the rationalization and phasing out of fossil fuel subsidies. We encourage all in this region and the rest of the world to abide by the Manila Declaration of Peaceful Settlements of Disputes and not to resort to unnecessary force. Friends in BOA, not only should we enhance South-to-South cooperation, we must also keep our region safe, secure, and peaceful. A shared future dictates us that we should work together for a shared progress, prosperity, and health for all. Shekhe.
感谢杜特尔特总统。下面
I
请
thank
哈萨克斯
President
坦共和国
Duterte.
政府
Now
总理
I
斯麦
give
洛夫
the
阁下
floor
发表
to
视频致
President
辞。
of Kazakhstan.
Құрметті төраға Си Цзиньпин, құрметті бас хатшы Ли Баодың, құрметті хандар мен мырзалар.
Your Excellency
Қытай тарапына
President
бүгінгі
Xi
іс-шараға
Jinping,
қатысуға
Your Excellency
мүмкіндік
Vice
жасаған
Premier
үшін
Han Zheng,
алғыс білдіруге рұқсат
Secretary
етіңіздер.
General Li Baodong,
Қазақстан
ladies
БОАО
and
форумын
gentlemen, I thank the
алғашқы
Chinese
күндерден
side for
бастап
inviting me
белсенді
to
түрде
today's
қолдап
event.
келеді.
Since the
Сондай-ақ
founding of
ашық
the
диалог
forum,
пен жаңа
Kazakhstan has
идеялардың
always
маңызды
actively
платформасы
supported
ретінде
it. We
қарастырады.
believe that the Boao
2
Forum of
жылдан астам
Asia
уақыт
is
бойы
an
әлем
important
коронавируспен
multilateral
үздіксіз
dialogue
күресіп келеді.
platform for all parties
COVID-19
to
індеті
exchange
адам
views
өмірінің
on
барлық
major
салаларында
international issues
бұрын
and
соңды
come up
болмаған
with new
қиыншылықтарға
ideas.
әкелді.
For more than 2
Өз
years,
кезегінде,
the world has
Қазақстан
been fighting
эпидемиологиялық жағдайды
COVID-19.
тұрақтандыру және ел экономикасын
The
жедел қалпына
pandemic
келтіру үшін
and our containment
қажетті
measures
шараларды
have brought
қабылдауда.
unprecedented
Оның нәтижесінде
challenges on
эпидемиологиялық
all
жағдай
aspects of
айтарлықтай
our life.
жақсарып, елдің бүкіл
Kazakhstan is
аумағы
doing its
жасыл
utmost
аймаққа
to
өтті.
stabilize the situation
Қазіргі уақытта
and
Қазақстан
promote
үкіметі сапалы дамуға
economic
және
recovery
халықтың
as soon as
әл-ауқаттарын
possible.
жақсартуға бағытталған
With
бірқатар
timely measures,
экономикалық
the
реформаларды
epidemic situation
жүзеге
has
асырып
greatly
отыр.
improved,
Биылғы
and
жылғы
Kazakhstan
наурызда
is
Қазақстан
at
президенті
low
Қасым
risk
Жомарт
of
Кемелұлы
infection.
Тоқаев
At
жаңа
present,
саяси
the government
реформалардың
of Kazakhstan is
ауқымды
implementing
бағдарламасын
a
ұсынды.
series of
Маңызды
reforms
саяси
to
реформаларды және
promote
дағдарысқа
well-being of
қарсы
the people.
кешенді
In
шараларды
March,
іске
President
асыру үшін
Tokayev
жалпы
proposed
ұлттық
a
жоспар
grand
бекітілді.
political reform program
Бұл
to
шаралар
build a new
мемлекеттің
Kazakhstan,
әлеуметтік
and we
міндеттемелерін іске
approved a
асыруға
national plan
және
to
дамуға
implement
қолайлы
major
жағдай
political
жасауға
reforms
мүмкіндік береді.
and response.
Құрметті форумға қатысушылар,
The theme of this year's forum is about pandemic response and international development, which fully reflects the international community's concerns about global economic development in the post-COVID era. Kazakhstan hopes that we would emerge from the crisis as soon as possible and resume stable international economic cooperation. Whether the world can further develop depends on whether international community can work together to deal with global challenges such as pandemics and ecological threats. To ease the impact, we must make concerted efforts. First, we should adhere to the WHO global COVID-19 vaccination strategy. The issue of unfair distribution remains unresolved. Vaccine nationalism is on the rise. This could lead to a prolonged pandemic, especially in countries with low vaccination rates, where virus mutations will trigger new outbreaks. To this end, we need to have a set of rules for equitable distribution of vaccines and therapies. Kazakhstan has developed its own vaccines to contribute to the fight against the pandemic. The vaccines are widely used in Kazakhstan. This year, we also provided Kyrgyzstan with the first batch, and if needed, we are willing to provide our vaccines for other countries. In addition, the initiative of President Tokayev to establish an international biosafety body is of practical significance. Second, it is important to have high-quality cooperation under the Belt and Road Initiative proposed by President Xi Jinping. The pandemic has caused damages to global supply chains, and geopolitical tensions are intensifying.
Қасым-Жомарт Кемелұлы Тоқаевтың биологиялық қауіпсіздік мәселелерімен айналысатын халықаралық орган құру жөніндегі бастамасы өзекті болып табылады. Екінші, Қытай Халық Республикасының төрағасы Си Цзиньпиннің бір белдеу, бір жол бастамасы шеңберінде ықпалдастықтың жоғары серпінін қолдау маңызды. Коронавирустың әсері жаһандық тауар тасымалы тізбегіне зиян келтірді. Оның үстіне жағдайды геосаяси шиеленістер ұшықтыра түсуде. Туризм, логистика және көлік ынтымақтастығы салалары ең көп зардап шекті. Атап айтқанда, тауарлар мен азық-түлікті жеткізудегі іркілістер елеулі әлеуметтік дағдарысқа алып келуі мүмкін. Бұл факторлар әлемдік экономиканың орнықты дамуы мен әлеуметтік тұрақтылығын қамтамасыз етуді қиындата түсуде. Қазақстан жібек жолының экономикалық белдеуінің негізгі буыны ретінде халықаралық транзиттік тасымалдарды үздіксіз қамтамасыз ету жұмысын күшейтеді. Осыған байланысты шетелдік әріптестерге жүктерді тасымалдау қауіпсіздігі жоғары және жеткізу сұранысына қабілетті Транскаспий халықаралық көлік бағдарын пайдалануға белсенді түрде қосылуды ұсынамыз. Үшінші, жаңа дағдарыстың
Kazakhstan and China have worked together to explore new opportunities for win-win cooperation. With joint efforts, the bilateral economic trade and investment cooperation has developed steadily. Last year, bilateral trade grew by 15.2% to $18.2 billion, and Chinese investment in Kazakhstan exceeded $1.2 billion. Kazakhstan supports the initiatives proposed by China, including the Health Silk Road, the Digital Silk Road, and the Steel Camel. E-commerce is an important engine of growth in both countries. We need to further tap the potential of such cooperation. In short, Kazakhstan is ready to expand constructive cooperation with China across the board. Dear friends, I believe that our meeting today will make a positive contribution to global development.
Жалпы біз барлық салалар бойынша конструктивті байланыстарды одан әрі дамытуға және екі жақты ықпалдастықты қамтамасыз етуге ниеттіміз. Қымбатты достар, бұл іс-шараның қорытындылары жаһандық дамудың ортақ мүддесіне қызмет ететініне кәміл сенемін. Бірлескен күш-жігеріміздің арқасында біз қазіргі сын-қатерлерді еңсеріп, ортақ болашақ үшін халықаралық дамуды қамтамасыз ете аламыз деп санаймын. Форум аясында қабылданған шешімдер әлемдік экономиканың дағдарыстан тез арада шығуына ықпал етіп, оның орнықты және үйлесімді дамуына жаңа серпін береді деп ойдамын. Назарларыңызға рахмет.
Positive energy into the sustainable and balanced growth of the world economy.
感谢斯麦洛夫总理。下面请
Thank
老
you,
挝人民民主
President
共和
of
国政府
Kazakhstan,
总理
and
潘坎
now
阁
the
下
floor
发表
is
视频致辞。
for the Prime
เฮียน
Minister
บรรณา
of
ฐานประมุข
the
รัฐ
Lao PDR.
และหัวหน้ารัฐบาลที่นับถือฐานลี่เบาดงเลขาธิการใหญ่เวที
Distinguished
ปรึก
heads
ษา
of
หรือบ่
state
เอา
and government,
เพื่ออาชีบรรณาฐานแขก
Your
ผู้มีเกียรติ
Excellency
ฐานยิ่ง
Li
และฐานสาย
Baodong, Secretary General of the
ก่อน
Boao
อื่น
Forum of Asia.
ข้าพเจ้าขอแสดง
Distinguished
ความขอบ
guests,
ใจ
ladies
มายัง
and
ฐานลี่เบาดง
gentlemen.
เลขาธิการใหญ่เวทีปรึ
First
ก
of
ษา
all,
หรือบ่
I
เอา
wish to thank
เพื่ออาชีพ
Secretary General
ที่ได้
Li
เชื้อเชิญ
Baodong
ข้าพเจ้า
for
เข้า
inviting
ร่วม
me
และ
to
มีความเห็
deliver
น
a
ในพิ
video
ธีเปิด
address
ของประชุม
at
เว
the
ที
opening
ปรึกษาหรือ
ceremony
บ่เอา
of the
เพื่ออา
Boao
ชีพ
Forum
ป
for
ระจำปี
Asia Annual
2022
Conference
ใน
2022.
หัวข้อโลกในท่ามกลาง
The
การระ
theme
บาด
of this
ของ
year's
ปัญหา
forum
โควิด
is
-19 ร่ว
the
มมือ
world
กัน
in
เพื่อพัฒ
COVID-19
นา
and
และ
beyond,
อนาคตร่วม
working
กัน
together for global development
การ
and
แพร่
shared
ระบาดของปัญหา
future.
โควิด -19 ได้สร้างผลกระทบอย่างหลวงหลาย
COVID-19
ต่อวงคณะ
has
ญาติ
huge
สากลใน
implications
ทุกระดับ
on
บ่
countries,
ว่าในระดับ
regions,
โลก
and
ภาค
the
พื้น
world.
ระดับศาสตร์ซึ่งได้กลายเป็นสิ่งท้าทายอย่างใหญ่หลวง
It has
ต่อ
posed
ระบบ
grave
สาธารณ
challenges
สุข
to public
คือ
health
การพัวพัน
and
ในสังคม
exchanges
อยู่
between
ภายในประเทศ
countries.
และระหว่าง
It
ประเท
also
ศ
seriously
และยัง
affected
ได้ส่งผลกระทบอย่างหนัก
global
หน่วง
economic
ต่อการ
recovery
ฟื้นตัว
and
ของการขยาย
development.
ตัวของเศรษฐกิจโลกต่อสภาพการดังกล่าววงคณะญาติสากลก็ได้ใช้
Facing the
ความพยายาม
pandemic,
ร่วมกัน
the
อย่างตั้ง
international
หน้า
community
เพื่อ
has
สกัด
joined
กัน
hands
การแพร่ระบา
to
ด
fight the
และวางมาตรการ
virus.
รับมือกับพยาธิโควิด
We
-19
worked together
อย่างใดทันการ โดยเฉพาะแม้
on
การ
the
ร่วมมือ
research
กัน
and
ในการ
development
ค้นคว้าวิท
of
ยาศาสตร์การแพทย์
vaccines
เพื่อ
and
ผลิต
medicines.
วัคซีนและยาปิ้นปัวพยาธิโควิด -19 การปรับตัวเข้ากับการดำรงชีวิตปกติแบบใหม่
We are also
ในโอ
actively
กาสนี้
promoting the
ในนามรั
production
ฐบาล
of
และ
vaccines
ประ
and
ชาชนลาว
medicines,
ข้า
and
พเจ้า
social
ขอแสดง
distancing
ความ
has
ขอบใจ
become
อย่าง
part
จริง
of
ใจ
our daily
มา
life.
ยังวงคณะญาติ
I
สา
wish
ก
to
ล
take this
และประเทศเพื่อน
opportunity
มิตร
to thank,
ที่ได้
on
ให้การ
behalf
ส
of
นับ
the
ส
Lao
นุนช่วย
government
เหลือ
and
สปป
people,
ลาว
the
ใน
friendly
การส
countries
กัดกั้น
that have helped
การแพร่ระ
Laos.
บาดของพยาธิโควิด -19 โดยเฉพาะ
In
ขอแสดง
particular,
ความหูบุ
I
ญ
thank
คุณต่อรัฐบาลและ
Chinese
ประชาชน
government
จีน
and people
ที่ได้ให้การซอยเหลือสปปลาว
for
ในหลายด้าน
its
เป็น
help,
ต้นการจัดส่งทีมเชี่ยวชาญการแพทย์
including
วัคซีน
sending
ยาปิ้น
medical
ปัวพยาธิ
experts
โควิด
to
-19 ก็
Laos
คืออุปกรณ์การแพทย์
and
ต่างๆ
providing
ซึ่งได้ประ
assistance
กอบส่วน
such as
เฮ็ดให้
vaccines
สปป
and
ลาว
anti-epidemic
สามารถสกัด
supplies.
กั้นต้าน
All these
การแพร่ระบาด
have
พยาธิ
helped
โควิด
Laos
-19 ในอย่าง
improve
มีประสิทธิผล
its epidemic response.
บรรดาท่านแขกที่มีเกียรติท่านยิ่งท่านชาย
Distinguished
การแพร่ระ
guests,
บาด
ladies
ของ
and
พยาธิโควิด
gentlemen,
-19 มีผลกระทบทั้งระยะสั้น
whether
ระยะ
in
ยา
the
ว
short
ต่อ
term
เศรษฐ
or
กิจ
in the
สัง
long
คม
term,
ก็คือการ
the
ดำรงชีวิต
pandemic
ข
has
องประชา
profound
ชนโลก
impact on the
ฉะนั้น
world economics
การต้านพ
and
ยาธิ
social
โควิด
developments,
-19
as
จึง
well
เป็น
as
ภารกิจ
people's lives.
ร่วมของบรรดาประชา
Therefore,
ชาติในโลก
fighting the pandemic
ต่อ
is
กับ
a
เหตุการณ์
common
ดัง
task
กล่าว
for
ข้า
the
พเจ้า
whole
ขอมี
world.
ความเห็น3 จุดดังนี้
Here,
1.
I would like to share with
วง
you
คณะ
3
ญาติสากล
points.
ควรสืบต่อเพิ่มทวี
First,
การหัวมือ
The
ด้าน
international
วิทยาศาสตร์การแพ
community
ทย์
should
ให้
continue
กว้างข
to
วางกว่าเก่า
strengthen cooperation
เพื่อสอบ
on
ค้น
medical
ให้ได้
sciences
สิ่งที่ดีเลิศ
and
ของวิ
develop
ทยาศาสตร์การแพทย์
effective
แน่ใช้ส
medicines.
กัดกันและลบล้างพยาธิโควิด -19 ให้
We
ได้
need
อย่างสิ้นเชิง
to
การหัวมือ
work
ด้านวิ
together
ทยาศาสตร์การ
defeat
แพทย์
the virus
ต้อง
at
มี
an
ขึ้น
early
บนพื้น
date.
ฐานความจริงใจ
We also
และหลี
need
กเลี่ยง
to
การเอาปัญหาการเมืองมาเป็นปัจจัยแทรก
avoid
แซง
the politicization of
พวกเฮา
medical
จะต้อง
cooperation
ซุ้มใส่
and
การหัว
research.
มือกันในการ
Second
แก้ไขผลกระทบ
is to focus
ทางด้าน
on
เศรษฐกิจ
cooperation.
สังคมจากพยาธิ
is
โควิด
the
19 ให้
impact
ได้
of the pandemic
จึงมีความ
on
จำเป็น
economic and
ใน
social
การฟื้น
development
ฟูกลไกการสื ชื่อม
and
จอดเชื่อ
restore
มโยง
world
ที่
connectivity.
ทึกหยุดสงัดเช่นการวางมาตรการผ่อนผัน
We need
การไป
to
มาหาสู่
relax
ซึ่งกันและ
traffic
กัน
protocols
โดยรับประกันการสกัดกั้น
to ensure
การ
both
แพร่ระบาด
effective
ของพยาธิโควิด
containment
-19 ให้ได้
and
รับประกัน
also
ให้ต้องโซการ
the
ค้า
stability
สามารถดำเนิน
of
ไปโดยปกติ
supply
ฟื้นฟูการส่งเสริมการลงทุนและการปรับระบบการดำเนินธุรกิจไปสู่เศรษฐกิจดิจิทัลให้ได้และ3เพิ่มทวีการส่งเสริมและหัวมือกันในขอบการหัวมือระดับภาคพื้นและสากลที่มีแล้วเพื่อฟื้นฟูเศรษฐกิจหลังระยะพยาธิโควิด -19 บนจิตใจดังกล่าวสปป.ลาวมีความภาคภูมิใจเป็นอย่างยิ่งที่ได้เป็นส่วนหนึ่งและได้ประกอบส่วนอย่างต่ำหน้าเขาในการจัดตั้งปฏิบัติขอบการหัวมือ1แล้ว1เส้นทาง1ในผลสำเร็จของการจัดตั้งปฏิบัติข้อริเริ่มนี้แม้นการเปิดนำใส่เส้นทางรถไฟลาวจีนในวันที่3 ธันวาคม 2021 ที่ผ่านมานี้ข้าพเจ้าเชื่อมั่นว่าการนำใส่เส้นทางรถไฟลาวจีนก็คือแล้วเศรษฐกิจลาวจีนจะประกอบส่วนสำคัญเขาในการเสริมขยายการหัวมือในระดับภาคพื้นและอนุภาคพื้นก็คือประกอบส่วนเขาในการแก้ไขผลกระทบของพยาธิโควิด -19 ในระยะยาวอันนี้จะเป็นการตอบสนองให้แก่การบรรลุเป้าหมายการสร้างต่างกลไกเชื่อมต่อและเชื่อมโยงภาคพื้นให้เป็นรูปธรรมก็คือการนำเอาผลประโยชน์ตัวจริงมาสู่ภาคพื้นนี้สุดท้ายนี้ข้าพเจ้าขออวยพรให้บรรดาฐานประมุขรัฐหัวหน้ารัฐบาลและบรรดาฐานแขกผู้มีเกียรติจงมีสุขภาพเข้มแข็งปลอดภัยจากพยาธิโควิด -19 ขออวยพรให้กองประชุมเวทีปรึกษาหารือโบอาประจำปี 2022 จบประสบผลสำเร็จอย่างจบงามขอขอบใจ
Thank you.
感谢潘坎总理。下面请国际货币基金组织总裁罗奥尔基耶娃女士发表视频致辞。
Director Kristina Georgieva of the IMF.
Thank you for inviting me to this year's Boao Forum. The theme for this year's forum, the world in COVID-19 and beyond, working together for global development and a shared future, could not be more timely. Today, the global economic community and policymakers everywhere face immense challenges. The global economy has been hit by shock after shock, resulting in crisis upon a crisis. First, the pandemic. For 2 years, it turned our lives and economies upside down, and it is still not over. The continued spread of the virus could give rise to even worse variants, prompting further disruption and divergence between and within countries. Second, the war in Ukraine. This is a human tragedy and devastating for Ukraine's economy, and it is sending shockwaves throughout the globe. As a result of this crisis, we now project a further downgrade in global growth for 2022 and 2023. While prospects vary across countries, we can see the impact in all regions. Higher energy and food prices add to inflationary pressures, squeezing the real incomes of households almost everywhere. Yet the worry is not just the slowdown, but the added risks and uncertainty we face, well beyond the normal range. An escalation of the war would further weaken the global recovery and fragment the world into geopolitical blocs with different trade and technology standards, payment systems, and reserve currencies. Tighter financial conditions would further complicate the recovery, especially for vulnerable countries where debt is already elevated. And a more prolonged slowdown in China would have substantial global spillovers. Meanwhile, climate risks are getting worse. The upshot is that this is the most universally complex policy environment in our lifetimes, requiring decisive actions by the global community. First, end the war in Ukraine. Second, continue to confront the pandemic with a comprehensive toolkit that includes vaccines, testing, and antiviral treatments deployed everywhere. Third, tackle inflation and debt. Central banks should act decisively and communicate clearly. Spending must be carefully prioritized and targeted. Some countries will require debt restructuring. To help them, the G20 common framework must be improved. As the world's second largest economy, actions to counter the growth slowdown here in China and achieve the authorities' ambitious growth target are also vital for the global recovery. Fortunately, China has policy space to support the economy. It can provide more macroeconomic policy support, including shifting the focus toward vulnerable households to strengthen consumption, which can also help support China's climate goals by steering economic activity to low-carbon sectors. Stronger policy efforts in the property sector can also help secure a balanced recovery. But the solutions for the global economy go beyond any one country. Countering the far-reaching damage of this back-to-back crisis and the risks we face in a more shock-prone world requires stronger international cooperation. This is paramount. We must preserve and improve the rules-based framework that has governed international and economic relations for more than 75 years and has helped deliver significant improvements in living standards across the globe. All countries have a vital role in supporting multilateral efforts. Let us all work for a stronger, more resilient, and sustainable world. We can do it, but only if we work together. 谢谢。
感谢格奥尔基耶娃女士。下面，请
I
会
thank
谈理事、荣誉
Madam
战略合作伙
Georgieva.
伴、沙特基础工业公司副董事长
Now,
兼
I
首
want to
席执
give the
行
floor
官
to Member of
阿
the
尔拜
Board
延
of
先生
Directors,
视频致
Mr.
辞。
Al Bayan from Sabiq.
Your Excellency, Mr. Han Zhong, Vice Premier of China, Your Excellency, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, Chairman of Boao Forum for Asia, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. I am once again truly honored to participate in this prestigious event. The Boao Forum highlights China's role holding together globalized economy in this eventful time. And this year, the forum contemplates how the economy will develop in a world that still bears the scars of COVID. Let me preface my remarks by stating how fortunate I am to be in charge of a world-class diversified chemical company, SABIC. This is a headquarter in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Riyadh. The reason is that the country-wise leaders have compelling vision for economic developments and our shared future for this planet. Their vision was recently manifested by the Saudi Green Initiatives, which mapped out a development path to meet the needs for the future without compromising the present's need. It does this by respecting the principles of sustainability while aiming for carbon neutrality through a circular carbon economy framework. During Saudi Green Initiatives, we at SABIC announced our carbon neutrality strategy, including our commitment to reduce our greenhouse gas emission by 2030 worldwide by 20% comparing to 2018. China's 14th five-year plan and 2035 long-range objectives similarly lay out solid foundation for sustainable development and also specify 30 to 60 decarbonization goal. This provides a framework which SABIC can strengthen its country participations which include a joint venture with just commissioned polycarbonate plants in Tianjin, and just licensed a joint venture for a proposed petrochemical complex in Fujian. I can easily imagine major projects in the other industry coming together under other far-sighted economic development programs such as China Belt and Road Initiatives and Saudi Arabia Vision 2030. As the sole featured speaker representing the international business community, I take it's my responsibility to speak on its behalf. And I believe the consensus view of my peers is that the best way to create a long-term value and spread the well-being through the world is to respond to the climate change under the umbrella of a sustainable development. This won't be easy or even quick. Energy-based value chain requires a lot of time and efforts to transform. Together, public and private sector must be globalized the world economy to establish not only alternative energy sources, but also new markets and diversified supply chain. But I'm convinced that through a spirit of collaborations, we can overcome the biggest of these challenges. It is what enabled us to go through the worst of the COVID pandemic, and it is the basis on which we build cohesive, inclusive, and a prosperous world. And with that pertinent through, I wish you this year a best forum for a great success, and thank you very much.
感谢阿尔拜岩先生。
I thank Mr. Albine for his speech. Now I've given the floor to Chairman Frust from Australia.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Fortescue's proud of its long-standing association with the Boao Forum for Asia, a recognition of this forum's unique power to bring together leaders who in a changing world recognise that friendship and trust are critical. That has always been true for all of my friends and colleagues in Australia, all over China and in the world, and never more so than now. We must advocate for peace. Only when the world is united can we meet the existential threat that can derail humanity. And when countries trade with each other because they want to, not because they have to, this is the path to peace, and that path will be illuminated most brightly then. I see a world where nations enjoy complete energy independence, and never more so than here in China, which has vast natural climatic resources to create green energy, green ammonia, and most importantly, green hydrogen. And we can all utilise new technologies and the abundance of our natural climate to create our own energy, advancing the interests of people, economies, and of course the climate. It is these nations that will halt global warming once and for all. Green energy must become the foundation of every society, enabling green hydrogen-based industries from green steel to green cement to evolve and flourish for the benefit of all people and the world. We advocate national energy independence, country by country. That alone will save us from the ravages of global warming. And we're seeing global warming everywhere, from the melting Arctic to the Antarctic, and in the middle, the ravages of constant fires and floods, that cycle we're seeing in Australia. FMG and sister company FFI have set up partnerships with governments and businesses all over the world, from China to Britain, Africa to Indonesia, Germany to Australia, so we reach our target of 15 million tonnes of green hydrogen per year. We're delighted to work closely with our Asian family to produce green hydrogen, green ammonia and green electricity so that we can all profitably and sustainably halt global warming. This is our love for Asia in action, and all in the pursuit of peace and climate harmony. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, with a round of applause, let's give our appreciation to the speeches of heads of state and representatives from the business community. Now, with a round of applause, Vice Premier Han Zheng will leave the venue first. Thank you. This is the end of today's opening ceremony. Thank you again.